wearing today kind of challenge, accepted is sort of an overall attitude I've had my whole life. So I was born in Vancouver. I grew up in the Lower Mainland till I guess it was about grade 7. Grade 7, I moved up to Kamloops and became an interior boy, and did everything up to junior high, and then moved into Penticton where I graduated. So small towns, mid-sized towns, and larger areas. I'm a BC boy. As soon as I left high school, actually made me go back. In grade 11, I learned a really valuable lesson in life, and that is that life's not always easy. So at 17, I was living on my own in one of those motels in Penticton. It's called the Pass Motor Inn. No water in the pool, and trying to figure out how to just make my rent payment while still going to high school, and figuring out life, trying to be an athlete and chase dreams as every young man does. And I had a dream of trying to become a fighter pilot, get into the military, and I really wanted to fly. Long and short, I was accepted, but due to that, I guess some choices and circumstances in my life, I ended up having to work 2 jobs, live on my own, go to school, still try to keep up my athletics and all of that. And my grade point dropped just below the minimum accepted for the officer program in the military. So that was my really first taste of failure and understanding you don't always get what you want in life, and unforeseen things will slap you upside the head. So I immediately graduated, and then I headed down to the coast, and I wasn't really focused on university or going that route. I didn't have a clear, I knew that I had a gift in sales. I still had dreams and athletic ambitions, and I took a job with a company called Annixter and just working in the warehouse. And in my interview, I was 18, 17, 18. And I was bold and I asked for a sales job. And they laughed at me, said, "We got a warehouse job for you." Right? And I said, "Okay." I said, "Okay, I'll take the job." And so I took that job, and it was a union job. And I would just say that I learned a valuable lesson that in that opportunity is that if you seize the opportunity to learn and focus in on doing everything you can to be the best at what you do. Every single month I went in and asked for a sales job. Every single month I was said no to. But I continued to persevere, and I became the lead hand in the warehouse, to the point where they would keep telling me to slow down. "You're working too hard. You don't need to do that." Some of them even said I was making them look bad. But the lesson from that was immeasurable. If you want to be extraordinary, you ultimately got to perform at a level that makes everybody look bad. And I don't mean that in a critical way of others, but you have to be willing to do what others won't do if you want to have what others won't have. So I'd been there actually only about 5 months, and I'd progressed and was doing very well. And then I got sick and I went home, and I was really sick. About a week passed. And I got a phone call from the general manager of the branch, and he just said, "Hey, are you coming back? Are you feeling any better?" And I said, "Yeah, it was Sunday." And I said, "Yeah, I'll be in tomorrow. I'm back to go." And he says, "Well, do you have a suit?" I went, "What? A suit? I'm going to destroy it in the warehouse." He just laughed at me and said, "No, you're tenacious. I'm going to give you your sales job." So anyways, that was a little story of triumph that overcame just by putting my head down, doing what others wouldn't do. And I got what others wouldn't got. So I became the youngest salesman in the country and did really well at that. And that is done through the changing and the renewing of our mind. And every dream is just a thought. It's energy. It's back to focusing on that target. And, you'd asked me earlier about how important is that focus in my life. Well, I do dream big, because ultimately my goal is to dream big enough that I can help you, Bob, and all the people that I end up touching, that their dreams can be fulfilled through it. So it doesn't matter where you're at, whether you're a stay-at-home mom, one of the most important jobs in the world, you have the ability to transform and lead your children, to help them understand that your reality is your dreams acted upon. Chance favors a prepared mind. We need to plan, we need to persevere, and at the end of the day, we will get to benefit and progress, right? Our life really is about progress. And I liked what Tony Robbins said once, is that quite often we think of success as money, but ultimately success is whatever we say it is. So the only real failure in life is having success without fulfillment. And fulfillment is directly related to how we progress. We never arrive. This is a journey of constant, never-ending improvement. So
there's been studies done all over history, and the one that I heard best is that a man with a clear, defined purpose and belief will persevere and will be tenacious when they're willing to pay the ultimate price, because their belief is so strong. It leads to tenacity. Determination, this tenacity, this perseverance of life and working through each moment and circumstance really is tied to our beliefs and to our why, that purpose that we're doing it for. It's not if there's going to be tough times. It's not if there's going to be challenges. It's just when and how often. So if our why is strong enough, that belief in what we're doing and the value it's going to bring, that's going to really keep us driving forward.
What we're really talking about is called a mindset triad, or our attitude triad, and it's involved with three things. And physiology is the base of that triangle that is there. And the easiest way to affect our body chemistry is a physical activity. Tony Robbins would say, make your move. Many other of the world's best thought leaders are talking about the science behind the body chemistry that happens from 20 burpees or 10 pull-ups or just going for a quick jog, run 10 jumping jacks. But physiology is really only one of it. It's the easiest one for us all to change. The other two elements of this triad is focus, because what we focus on is our thinking. That is, what we focus on, we find. It then gives us what we feel. That focus then grows, and then ultimately that's what we become. And we're talking about our attitude, and we're talking about our actions, because those focus, as you alluded to, Bob, then drives our rituals. And you show me a person that's fit, and I can tell you pretty accurately how often they're training. One person says they're fit, and you can tell their body is a once-a-week body. You can tell somebody who's a 4-day-a-week body. And then you can tell the elite athletes are an everyday body, that they're doing something active. So the focus on their outcomes and mindset and thinking, the physiology, and then the third component of that triad is our language, our self-talk. How are we talking? What are the thoughts that we're actually taking in will derive what comes out of our mouth. I heard a good book that says that our tongue shows the contents of our heart and where it's at. So it comes back to fear, as you've said. Fear is a false event or evidence appearing real. And that is a focus. Or is it words that we speak that are negative about us? Are we saying, I am stupid, instead of I am learning? Just a small shift in language changes our body, our mindset, and our overall state. I've been accused by a few people that I set maybe goals that might be either too high or too many at one time. And I would agree that I've learned here over this last 51 years that less is more, and which leads into focus. Because if we focus, it'll bring clarity. And then clarity makes it simple. And so I guess what I'd like to kind of share is that if we are going to set goals, if we start with the end in mind, I believe that you reverse engineer everything back. So if it's a 5-step process to get that result or that goal achieved, then you go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Number 1 is the first step. I don't need to worry about 2, 4, 5. 1. I need to start it and finish it and be solely focused to that. And that needs to be an obsessive almost behavior, an obsession in a positive way that is focused. That then, upon completion, we get the feelings that we want and the needs met. You're significant because you accomplished it. You're certain that you made progress, which brings fulfillment, right? Which is growth. And you're giving to yourself. And then you do step 2, then to step 3, etc. But I quite often go, I think I can jump right to step 4. And then I hit step 3 and my face goes whack, right in the ground. And I go, okay, maybe I should go back to step 1 and just deal with that. So with fitness, let's just use that as a simple analogy for all of us. We're in COVID-19 world and we're inside. So I'm used to going to the gym, I do kettlebells, I do all kinds of different training. I have to train with bands now. I use my body weight. I'm doing push-ups, I'm doing pull-ups, I'm doing air squats, and I'm doing them for long periods of time. But the point is, I'm doing. And if we want to know and define that result, that outcome, ultimately, we have this beautiful technology called YouTube. You can YouTube almost anything. I think it's actually the #1 search engine now in the world for how-tos. I'm talking about how-tos because it doesn't matter what I put in there. There's someone with an opinion or a thought on how to do that. And how do we create that ritual? So see what people are doing that have what you want, and then simply copy it. We don't have to create it. We can copy it. So
and what I've really realized from all of this is that change takes a lot of energy, spiritually, mindfully, as well as physically. And getting that balance and coming from a position of strength as much as possible. We got to get to at least a basic equilibrium before we're really capable of making good and wise choices about change and transition. That whole mindset of transition that we've really talked about here today is unbelievably powerful. And the most important question to ask it first is, where am I now? And then secondly, where do I want to go? Now I have the 2 key points of creating a map. Now, what does that really mean? Well, to me, that then leads to the question of, do I like where I am? And am I close to where I want to go? And do I even want to change and go through the growth that's going to be required in transition? Which means, unfortunately, in most cases, in my experience of life, pain is going to happen if I'm going to go through some form of growth. So and that kind of is it's a human condition. It just is required, whether it be physically, mentally, having to change a belief, digging into those roadblocks and those root issues, because the fruit isn't the problem. It's always the root that's causing the problem. So do I want the change? Once that's decided, then that big why question, the purpose that you and I have talked about so much, and Bob, we talk about a lot on other shows as well, are why. Why do I want to make this change? What is my real purpose for this? What outcome is it going to lead to? That then requires us to define the plan. If I know where I'm going and why I'm going there, what's the map? What is that massive action plan? A map is only as good as the action. A saying I say all the time: your reality equals your dreams acted upon. And if you want to have what others have, we have to be willing to do what others do. In most cases, that means if I want to be a world-class athlete, then I better create the rituals, the habits for the results of a world-class athlete. Those rituals are going to ultimately create a lifestyle or a new environment for me to actually grow in and transition from one place or state to another in that by the repetition, which is the mother of all skill, and go through that, repeating it day in, day out. What we do consistently is what actually causes the change. Not, well, I did it one day a week, went to the gym. It's, no, I went and I did something active every day. A walk, I hit the gym one day, I played some golf. We're being active and healthy in our body, our mind, and our spirit. Be kind to ourselves. And I think that really comes back to the really basic principle of love. You gotta love the process. We gotta love our life, which is living intentionally focused on executing. Another one of my Heathisms. And that overall being kind to ourselves is going to allow us to enjoy the process, to have that strong mindset that you spoke about, that we're gonna actually be positive about the change. This is an opportunity working through COVID because I'm gonna focus on new technology, the ability to communicate through different vehicles or whatever it might be. Or is it, I have to? No. We get to. Our focus needs to be really strong. And an old story that I was told, I'm sure you guys maybe have heard this, but what is a full life? Well, I was told this story at a presentation. And there's a man there saying, here's a cup. Is it full? He showed it to us. It was empty. And he said, is it full? It's actually full of air. So you could say it's full. He then went and took a bunch of big rocks and he put the rocks in there. And he said, is it now full? And those big rocks were full right to the brim. Some people said yes. Others said, no, it's not full. He then took some sand and he put the sand in the cup. And he asked, is it full? People again said yes. And some people said no. It's all based on our thinking. Finally, he asked, after he put in water, and he filled the cup up full of water with the rocks and the sand and the water, it's full. And he said, is the glass or the cup full? At that point, everybody said yes. The moral of the story was in his next point. If I put the water in first, there's no room for the big rocks or for the sand. So this hit me like a punch in the face. What is really important, you put in first. The big rocks, those are called priorities. That focus is critical. And you can go online, you can research many, many great thought leaders on it. You know, The One Thing, you can go on with Tony Robbins. There's so many thought leaders out there. They all speak the truth about focus, control that, put energy into those priorities, and control your thinking and your language. The last thing is our body, but it is the easiest thing to fix because it will have an impact on our mindset and our focus. So life is really just a series of circumstances and situations. And quite often is that we feel overwhelmed and don't quite know how to respond. But what you said is if you can visualize, you can see, you can focus on that outcome and our why, then we're able to seize that moment better, because chance favors a prepared mind. And if we're focused on where we want to go, we're more likely to make the turn, even if we're going in hot, as you said in your bike story. If we're looking at the point at the exit of that turn, that bike is gonna bank and lean and head there. If we look at the wall or we look into the bush, it's funny how we end up right where we looked. So how we respond in our circumstances is really our choice. And it really comes back to how we've set ourselves up for success. How are we preparing? How are we choosing to respond in these moments? So tenacity is the persistence to learn and grow, to never quit or stop growing and learning. We need to keep seeking to find the truth until you find what you are looking for, regardless of our circumstances. That means we got to manage our attitude, live with gratitude. We are blessed. How do we be that last man standing? We need to basically remember that winners never quit and quitters never win. It requires us to be determined, to really be clear on our focus of where we are going and why. We need to surround ourselves with people that are already there so that we can follow the breadcrumbs, because success leaves clues. They just happen to be called habits or rituals. Our life circumstances we're in right now with this pandemic, or any crisis that we face, this isn't the last one we're going to face in our life, God willing. So we need to focus on controlling our mindset, controlling proximity, the things that affect our attitude. We need to control who we allow to put thoughts and attitudes into us. That alone takes tenacity, persevering, looking forward, ensuring we are focused on where we want to go will definitely increase the odds that we will end up where we're looking. So with tenacity, common people can create uncommon outcomes. When we fall down, success is really just getting back up. There is no failure if we learn. It's a fantastic adventure in learning. We need to basically breathe. We need to hydrate, drink good water, eat well, exercise, and don't forget to rest. Create and follow good rituals, those routines that are going to set the tone of our day. We start with success. Make our bed. We need to realize we're always creating habits, consciously or unconsciously. It's our choice. Do we live above the line? Or are we going to live below the line in victimhood and saying, well, it just didn't work out, or, well, they did this, so I had to do that. I didn't have a choice. No. We always have a choice in how we respond. That response is choosing to live our ideal form of life. And to do that, we all need tenacity, which I believe can be summarized by the challenge to live intentionally focused on executing. Focus on what you want. Then get up and go. Seize the challenges that are wrapping our opportunities. It's an opportunity. It's a gift each day. That's why it's called the present.